And welcome back to Geek Centurions, me boy life.
Big Joe.
And the long-awaited return to cinema has come with Dune Part Two.
Um, yeah, the next installment of I guess the Dune trilogy, right? Is it?
Uh,
It's gonna be confirmed a trilogy,
Dennis
right?
Villeneuve, no relation to it. Uh, he has said he's going to make a third movie based on Children of Dune, but that won't come out till when it's got good and goddamn ready. That's what he said. So yeah, no, the second film in the third trilogy.
Yeah, and I mean, like you alluded to a little bit there. The first Dune was released, I believe, what in 2021, I believe.
Yes, it was 2021.
And it was a when HBO Max, when that was still a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Max now, but
Mhm.
you know, and HBO Max was doing a both release in movie theaters, in limited movie theaters, and also on home streaming.
Mhm.
And I believe that's how we watched the first Dune movie, streaming at home.
Yeah.
Um, However, I remember when we did that review to be like, hey, if you have the shot to do it, to watch it in the theaters, definitely do, because it's probably a way better experience. And now that we've gotten Dune 2 and we got to actually go to a movie theater to watch it,
No,
yeah,
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 that
that's
was that is.
wasn't IMAX, but I mean it's still very,
Oh no, yeah, no, but we got the sound effects though.
yeah, it's just it was a very you know
No, yeah,
cinematic feel,
yeah, no, it's been a while since like, and granted, I feel like whenever people say like cinema's back, I feel like it always kind of depends on what people mean by cinema. This is one of those examples of like, yes, you're not only is it gonna be like a pop culture zeitgeist movie because it's Dune, it's sci-fi, and almost we haven't had that much of sci-fi outside of say Star Wars in film. That this is one of those ones that's like this is a film that really has everything that you're looking for in cinema: cinematography, a compelling story, beautiful characters, beautiful like it hits all the points it needs, right? Something that we haven't had in a long time, specifically for sci-fi, right? Like every this is what we've been asking for a long time, and we have it here within this film known as Dune Part Two. And just to let you guys know, we will be going into spoilers. By the time this comes out, it's been 2 weeks, and that's usually for me the minimum of like, okay, time's up. If you haven't seen it, you haven't seen it. Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah,
So we're just
yeah,
gonna be. I don't think we're gonna like. We're not gonna like say what happens in every single frame of the movie,
no,
but
no, no.
we're just going over the actual general plot and like what happens and
Yeah,
stuff, right?
yeah, exactly. So we're gonna be talking about that right now, and as we tend to do, we tend to just give our like a minute of our thoughts on the film, and then like, towards the end we give our full rating after a brief discussion about some of the stuff in the film. But yes, we'll start off with you, Joey, with your for 1 minute.
Okay. Um. So Dune Part Two, I think, is truly a visual spectacle to behold. Just the way Denis Neuville, handles all cinematography and the colors and all these sorts of shots we have in the movie is just breathtaking. As well as just handling the plot of Dune, which, while I will say this, I wasn't really well versed in Dune's plot. It's a very interesting plot progression for Paul and his character to go through, as well as all the other characters around him. Like seriously, it's just I think it's sort of a interesting arc, and I'm kind of excited to see the next one. If I'm gonna be honest,
Mm-hmm.
just to see where this all leads into. I will say the third act, kind of, at least in terms of like battle sequence, is a bit flat, but overall, I think it is a solid movie that just really sort of blends it all together.
All right, and I'll give you my thoughts. So, without a doubt, this is probably one Dennis Villanova's crowning moments in cinema. It is everything you've been hearing and more. It is what we've been asking for in terms of, you know, like I said before, sci-fi cinema. It is at this point would be one of the peak films in this year. It's a great starter for the year. Fantastic cinematography, the story of Paul and his relationship with the Freeman is probably one of the best examples of storytelling that we've had, even if it's been like shortened down to something much more simplified, considering to what the concept of the Dune books have been. And thankfully, we have Denis Villeneuve again for that by making him and his team have made such a great film that encapsulates everything that people loved about Dune itself. And I could go in more, but that's kind of the point. But let's start off with the cinematography. Um, when I remember Denis Villeneuve, I don't know where he said this, but he said he would have loved to do the movie without dialogue. He is very much visuals, and if it wasn't apparent in one of his previous films, specifically the one I'm thinking about is Arrival, where the movie where uh, what's her name?
Amy Adams.
Amy Adams had to decipher
alien language
through images. I'm like, yeah, no, that makes sense. Even in this film, it's total law through imagery. But like, there's still like very important dialogue, yes, but like the imagery just helps emphasize on what's going on and a lot of this stuff. And I don't know how you feel about those kind of words, but I think we're both in agreement that he is right to an extent in that sense.
Yeah, I definitely get the point of view of what he's going with, and yeah, like film is a visual language, like you get a lot of stuff when you come at it as sort of just like in terms of framing and like all this stuff, and I think you sort of see that in the film. There's a lot of moments that sort of just like you could put this on your wall, right?
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of shots where you can just be like, okay, you can put that on a wall. Like that's just the sort of the artiste coming out, of like this framing and like sort of like where certain things are to be, like it definitely all works to service the story, and it's a very interesting sort of this perspective that Villeneuve has.
Yeah, yeah, Villeneuve.
Yeah,
Yeah. I know why you want to say that the way that you say it.
Yeah, it's French, right? He's French Canadian.
French Canadian.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's just like.
No, but like one of the things that I really like, that really emphasizes what he's talking about, and it really captures it in the cinematography. There's one shot specifically, actually two, the ones I'm thinking about, and this is why I'm saying we can go into spoilers, is when Paul just arrives in the Freeman camp, and then like everyone's just surrounding him, and it pans out to you see like everyone's like moving like a wave of an ocean as he's walking down, sort of like this prophesized, character. He is like they treat him like a prophesized character, and we'll get to that. But like the sort of like image of him like, moving against the currents, and then there's also the image of him like towards the end commanding this, army of people who are devoted to him. I think those are like one of the moments where like I think Denis Villeneuve is really finds importance in the imagery. But yeah, no, it's what's something you wanna talk about in terms of the film, because we could not stop talking when we got out when we got out watching it.
I mean, I think the progression of Paul's character, I think, is definitely like the big one. I think that sort of comes through.
Yeah.
Because obviously the whole plot of Dune is that Paul has these sort of like psychic visions and stuff, where he sees himself becoming this sort of leader of the Fremen, the people that live on Dune, Arrakis. Right? And straight up, it's he's very much like, I don't know how I feel about this. He's kind of sort of like, he's a character that like sort of knows what his fate will become, and he's actively fighting against it to an extent. But at the same time, it's also like one of those things of like, well, Paul, his family, his father, were all killed by the Harkins, right?
Yeah, Harkonnens.
Yeah, and they're obviously, and the Fremen want to get them off their planet, and Paul is very much like, yeah, I will support the Fremen because they should have free right of their land, but at the same time, I also want revenge. you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like it plays hand in hand, and then he has these sort of things where he essentially, yeah, like you said earlier, like he becomes sort of a prophetic figure in their like religion,
Yeah.
and he fears the like, well, if I do take up that mantle, it's gonna cause like essentially like a huge massive war. People will die from in my name, and it's just like I don't want any of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
I
it's like
I made the joke while we were watching it that this is well not there's one joke I made, but the comparison I immediately made it to was you know another very well known film, The Last Temptation of Christ, because in that film it was essentially centered around Christ having a conflicting thing about himself.
right.
Yeah, and so I felt that coming through, and one of the things that I kind of made the joke is that Paul does not want to be a white savior.
I mean, yeah. I mean, to be fair, there's also an interesting theme
Yeah.
when it comes to, I guess, even the original Dune books of like, yeah, you have Paul, as a character leading a group of, I will say, Arab-coded
Yeah.
characters. I
Yeah.
mean, like a lot of. I mean, what the name of their prophet is like some sort of like Al Musayin or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
The Muhadib.
Yeah. Yeah. You're looking for the names. I didn't see that.
Yeah, I know, because it's kind of a.
Well, and granted, from my because I did a little research, uh, the writer for Dune did base it solely the Freeman off that, so that's kind of the vibe that they're going with.
Yeah, the Lisan Al Ahib.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the idea that they're meant to be. So those of you who are like finding these kind of um connections, that was intended.
Yeah, and I mean to be fair, even then it's like a weird parallel to real world history in terms of World War One. You have Lawrence of Arabia, that whole story that happens. British officer who helps sort of coordinate the Arab uprising against the Ottomans during World War One. It's kind of a similar thing here when you look at that historical sort of parallel, right? But yeah, like unlike how Lawrence didn't have that weird Messiah prophecy that he was gifted upon, he was just sort of like, hey, the Arabs should rule their own lands, and then England and France are like, nah. But anyways, yeah, it is an interesting character conflict for Paul, and like you said, it kind of even like takes a bit of a jab at the white savior thing, where it's like, okay, this is a character that, by all intents and purposes, is probably a white savior who doesn't want to be a white savior.
And part of it this was, and I've had conversations with others about the film. It's almost this commentary on, and this might upset some people, but I'm not, I think something that we all agree on. It's this taking of someone's, whether it be culture, belief, or whatever, and assimilating it as a what's the word I'm looking for?
I think you're going for cultural appropriation. Is that?
Kind of. It's more of like we're using your beliefs to forward our gain. The idea of co-opting other people's
right, yeah, I think which is also a sort of a historical thing that comes with a lot of colonial stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think of examples off the top of my head, but I mean it has happened quite a bit. Where
because there's times where I was like, man, Paul's mom feels like more of the villain than anyone else here too.
Yeah, because she is part of the Bene Gesserit,
yeah.
Right? And her whole thing is she becomes like a new Reverend Mother for the Furman religion, and her whole bit is to straight up just
her and her daughter.
Yeah, the baby inside her.
Yeah.
Straight up like have this whole plan of like making Paul even more of that Messiah figure by spreading all the things about him to the masses, and like he heads south to where all like the most devout Furmen are to the religion, and it's just like it is very much like we will manipulate these people through their religion in order to have them see Paul as their one true savior. You know.
Yeah, in all of his sense to combat the Emperor and the Harkins and all the people that destroyed their family,
Yeah.
which is like that's some juicy shit.
Yeah, yeah, like it's like it's all for the purpose of getting revenge and that stuff, but at the same time it's like, dang, this is going like at a certain point you're like, yeah, no, you like you said, you can argue that Paul's mother could be very well be like a secondary villain in a way,
Hmm.
like even at the end of the movie she's like the holy war has begun.
Yeah, it's something that they've been planning on, and because granted, I'm not condoning her shit. But it's like she saw visions of this, and it's like this is the only way we can survive. And Paul, very much this person who does not want anything to do with this. He has lived with these people. He has, he loves these people. He's in love with Zendaya's character, whose name I cannot pronounce. As a Chitney.
Oh yeah,
We've had
Zendaya's character.
Yeah, Zendaya's character, who is not a believer.
Yeah, like it's very, there's a lot more people in the north of Arrakis that are like not as devout as say some of the other characters like Javier Bardem's character.
Yeah, he's very much devoted of the faith.
Stilgar, yeah,
Yeah,
that's his name.
and he uses it to help Paul and his mother to survive. Mostly because for him, he's like, he could be the one.
Yeah,
And it's at the same time, it doesn't like talk bad about religion. At the same time, I'll say that because there was a moment where I think it was one of the best moments is when Paul's mother is brought to the pool of tears. I forget what it was called, but it's like, and she asks, she finds out like, oh yes, this is the water from those that have passed, and it's sort of like this beautiful spiritual moment because it's something that Paul's mother understands, right? She's very much like she's a Bene Gesserit. She understands like all this religion and
yeah,
this, the beauty in it. And then when she sheds a tear, that in Javier Bardem's like see that's why we don't cry because that's very important to us. It's like beautiful, understandable, and she could later go opposite because of what she's able to see and all this kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah.
It's one of the main themes of the movie, and it's very interesting to see that. But yeah, no, Paul's character is essentially that he doesn't want any of this to happen, and he doesn't want to involve himself with this. But call it fate, call it destiny, whatever you want it to be, you know, he has no choice. And I think that's probably one of the things I really enjoyed about the movie is that Paul is this very much till the end a reluctant hero, and
Yeah,
I was very intrigued by all that.
yeah. No, it is a very like interesting character arc for him because yeah, by the end he is more or less because not he drinks like the water life thing, which
Yeah.
is like some like liquid inside his handworms. Right?
Yeah, specifically the kids, the baby ones.
Yeah, so he has this sort of essentially gives him better
Mhm.
like control of those psychic powers and like he can actually see into the future basically
Mhm.
at this point. And yeah, he sort of takes up that mantle. He rallies all the Furmen. They pretty much do a whole bit with the Emperor, right?
Mhm.
Like they get him to come to Arrakis and they all attack, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's very interesting.
Can I just say it was such a whiplash to see Christopher Walken as the Emperor.
Yeah, I guess it's because when you think of Christopher Walken, it's like you think of him in all his comedic roles, right? It's like,
Yeah, I know he's been in serious movies, but I just sometimes can't help but think about him going like whatever he said in Annie Hall. I can't remember.
really, because all I think about nowadays is just like, I have a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
Exactly.
Just like that's
And he's more cowbell.
that in when he was the mafia boss dad in Kangaroo Jack. Remember that?
Shit.
Yeah.
Fuck, they hit me back with like in the back of the
Yeah,
head.
I think that's probably the first time I remember seeing Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
Just in that movie.
Him and what's his name? The Zod.
Oh,
Yeah, Michael Shannon was in that
Yeah.
movie.
Oh yeah, he was. He was one of the bodyguards, wasn't he?
No, he was like the brother-in-law or something.
Oh yeah.
It's all coming back to me. This is the
Yeah.
beauty of Dune.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, yeah, he's in it and he does a good job. But the Skarsgård, what's his name? The Baron Harkonnen.
His nephew.
Yeah, him. He was really good. But the sad part is for me, I felt like he wasn't in there for long.
Yeah, Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah.
He's dang like all those.
Oh no, not the Skarsgård. The one who played the nephew. He played Elvis, but I can't remember his name.
Oh, okay. I know. I think I remember who you're talking about.
Yeah. I was saying, the names are very
Austin
complex.
Butler.
Yes, Austin Butler. He was very good. My only thing was that he wasn't in there for very long. But yes, no, that whole scene with the planet was probably my favorite moment of the film, just because like it's a lot of people's like there's a lot of people wondering why was it light lit this way. But like no, that's how the planet looks. That's why they're all so pale.
Yeah, that was probably like one of the most visually striking parts of the movie because it's all more or less black and white because their whole system is like has like a white star, I'm guessing, producing like white light and everything sort of contrast. Like their fireworks aren't even like that's like exploding plasma. It looks like.
Yeah, like exploding black dust.
Yeah, something like that, and it's just like it's such an interesting, unique thing, right? Where it's like I think, and that's probably credit to Dune sort of world building, right? Where you have like a planet like this, and oh, this is how they're able to do stuff like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that whole sequence on that, on the Harkoven's home planet, is just so captivating.
Yeah, the moment where like those like people dressed in blacks came out of nowhere, I was like, what the fuck? Oh, they were hit. Oh, damn! I didn't even see them coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the point.
And they're blending into the shadows.
Yeah. Yeah, but like yeah, no, those guys were great. My only thing was like there wasn't enough of Austin Butler or Dave Bautista for me to really latch on to those characters. Really, granted, I think the main villain for that one was supposed to be the Baron, their uncle, who was very much Skarsgård was fantastic in this movie, and in the previous one because he was the big threat, and yeah, no, the everyone in there was bringing in their A game with this. You mentioned that the only issue you had was the climax, right?
Yeah, I think I remember that was my only like like the only criticism I probably had, just because it just feels a little, I kind of rushed, because I don't know, like it always felt like to me like it was gonna be not like a huge bombastic like final battle kind of thing, but there's like some sort of tension going in there because Paul and his forces sort of take control of the area pretty fast. Like I mean it is a surprise attack, but like it just feels like there should have been a lot more struggles and maybe some like characters in like a lot more dangerous situations. Like I felt like, and again, not knowing Dune or like the source material, I thought like Stilgar was gonna die somehow. Like I felt like that was gonna be a big moment or whatever, or like like they sort of just brushed into that throne room pretty fast. And I don't know, maybe it's kind of like not the point.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Dune,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Not to have these sort of huge battles, but it's all more of like the politics of of this universe as well as the more smaller scale interactions with characters, which I mean I understand. It just felt kind of weirdly paced there, but I mean I still I think it still was fine. It's just I'm just very like I was very like all right, okay, cool, that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. No, they very much wanted to focus on like Austin Butler and Timothy Chalamet's final battle in that one. Well, not final battle, but final confrontation. Which even for me, some of that choreography was fantastic, and just the last bit was like, wait, where did that other knife come from? But yeah, no, I agree. Like it's just there wasn't much tension in that aspect for the climax. But like I said, I'm still I was still in the ride. I was enjoying myself from beginning to end. So I'm not really a negative, and more like a small nitpick, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
For you, I don't know if that's the same for you, but yeah.
What do you mean?
Would you consider that really a negative or more of a nitpick?
I mean, um, I guess for me, I would kind of consider it like I don't know, because I feel like when it comes to nitpicks, for me, it's mostly stuff that like just annoys me
Yeah.
that I don't really care about. Um, the here I feel like I'm leaning towards more criticism because
Mm.
I just it is sort of like it just feels a bit stilted, that
Mm.
whole last bit there, you know.
Mm.
And again, that's just my opinion. Like, I obviously
Mm.
it's like I said earlier, like probably that's not the point,
Yeah.
but I mean, in my brain, I'm like, okay, well, I still feel like, eh,
There need to be something more.
yeah,
Mm. No, I understand that. It's you're not really like you're not being negative. It's more like I feel like something's like you're missing something, and like you say you're missing something in there.
mm,
Like it shouldn't have been as fast. Maybe prolong it for another like 5 to 10 minutes.
yeah. I mean, I granted this movie's like almost 3 hours anyway,
Yeah,
um, which by the way did not feel like that,
did not feel like that at all.
No.
There were times where I'm like, oh, oh okay, this is did not feel like 2 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I think we're getting close to the end of like what are we going to talk about. Um, what are you? So what are your final thoughts and your rating for this movie?
Um, Final thoughts probably be more sort of like it's a good movie. I really, really was fascinated by it, enthralled by the characters, the visuals, and just it really you really feel teleported into the world of Dune. It's like
Mhm.
as someone who's never really cared that much about Dune other than space worms, spicy melange,
Yeah.
uh, like knowing those pop culture bits.
We made a lot of those during the movie.
Yeah, the spice melange.
Spice
Get back, Tom Brady.
Just like Tom Brady.
But overall, it was a fantastic film.
Mm.
I really do think it's I think it stands next to the first one. Like they're both really good films, and like I said earlier, I'm really excited to see sort of the next one.
Mm.
Like how this all sort of wraps up.
My thing is how weird are we gonna get with Dune? Because I've known people that explain to me some of the weird things that happens in Dune, and I'm just like, dude, that sounds so fucking weird. I don't think they're gonna do any of that. It's like, no, we don't think they're gonna do any of that. Yeah, because there's no way you can interpret that. Like, someone explained to me the dog-shaped chairs, and I'm just like, what?
Hmm.
Yeah, they genetically altered some dogs to be chair-shaped, which
Hmm.
I'm like, that's weird. That's weird. I kind of want to see something weird like that, but they're not gonna do that weird. They might do some other weird shit, but not that weird.
Mhm.
You know? Or even like, and granted, some of the stuff like I was talking about before, it's very streamlined because they never talk about or insinuate the fact that people here are genetically. There's a lot of eugenics going on in Dune apparently, where there's a reason why they don't use computers. Well, AI computers because Great War. But we use genetics to make people very smart enough where they don't need a computer.
Mhm.
Hence that one dude in that last movie who like rolled his eyes. I was like, yes, and da 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 da.
Mhm.
But no, I am 100% with you, and I do believe that this is a fantastic movie. Where sorry, fantastic movie where there's a lot of great cinematography, a very compelling story with Paul, who started off in the first movie as very reserved, kind of scared of you know what the future holds, and then in here finding his place with the Freeman, but reluctantly becoming their savior, is a great, fantastic story, and I'm very excited to see where they go. Will they go weird? I don't know. I kind of do want to hope to see that, but time will tell. We're only gonna get three. We're gonna get a third movie based on the second book, and we'll see how far they go with that. But yes, no, I 100% agree. I'm very excited to see what comes next with Dennis Villeneuve's Dune. So your rating would be?
I would probably go for a 9 out of 10.
I don't know. I'm with you there. 9 out of 10. This is if not a perfect movie, an almost perfect movie.
Mm.
Yeah. And yeah, guys, let us know what you think of Dune. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to follow us on all social medias: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We're most active on Instagram, and on there you'll find a link to all podcast sites. We're officially part of like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, and all the like. And you'll find a link to the YouTube where you can like, comment, subscribe, all the like, and Patreon for our support. And yeah, guys, go out and enjoy Dune. Get yourself a taste of that spice melange. The spice melange.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys give me boy, Eli.
Me, Joe.
You guys have a good one. Peace.